Good morning, everyone. My name is David Jambor, and everybody calls me DJ. I'm product designer at Outreach.io, and today I'd like to share a story how we joined GenAI race with feature that we call Smart Email Assist. But before I begin, let me show you a short video so you can better imagine what I will be talking about. So let's play it. So in this talk, I would like to provide actionable insight so you can join GenAI Race 2, and ideally it should be easier for you than it was for me. So at the beginning, I will talk a little bit about outreach context and about the sales domain, and then I will walk you through design iterations, and also I will mention our challenges and how we solved them. So what is Outreach? Outreach is a go-to tool for sales professionals. We call it Sales Execution Platform, and if you are from sales, it will help you to reach out potential buyer. It will help you to write a good email. It will help you to schedule a meeting, say the right things during those meetings. It will provide sentiment analysis and email summaries and also meeting summaries. It will do much more, but basically it will help you to sell more with less time. And in November 2022, I got a chance to go to London to shadow our internal salespeople for 2 days. And during those 2 days, we found out that the beginning of selling, basically the prospecting part, is incredibly manual process. So imagine this. Your sales manager will give you a bunch of companies you should go after and try to sell your product or service. So as the next step, you have to identify relevant people and find something interesting about them. And then you have to initiate contact. So, and you have a goal to book a meeting with them where you can demonstrate your product and ideally convince a potential buyer to buy it. And you know, writing email is easy, but writing a good email is quite challenging. And yes, in Outreach, you can use templates to make this step easier, but still you need to heavily personalize each email for each potential buyer, which is time-consuming. And according to research, salespeople are spending approximately 28% of time just on reading or on responding to emails, which is a lot. So we've asked ourselves, what can we do? How can we change it? So once we got back from London, we've actually created this visionary prototype where we demonstrated how the prospecting workflow can be automated in the future. And we've presented this prototype to our leadership, and we actually got quite good feedback. But you know, it was just a dream back then. It wasn't feasible to build it, and we thought that it was like 2 or 3 years away. Luckily, the game was changed in December 2022 by ChatGPT, and we immediately knew that we had to jump on it. So, because if you want to be a leader in the sales category or in any product category, you simply have to innovate. Otherwise, you will die. So the cost of doing nothing was simply too high, and we had to start. So on December 11th, I sent a message to my PM that we should build a proof of concept, and basically with this message, this is how we started, at least from my design perspective. And then we had a meeting with our leadership, and we wanted to tell them that we want to build ChatGPT integrations with Outreach, and we got buy-in quite quickly. But there was a catch. So they wanted to announce this feature in upcoming sales conference. So we got 6 weeks. 6 weeks to transform this idea into the final design and also build a prototype that could be presented at this sales conference. 6 weeks, it wasn't that much, but we were quite motivated to build this feature and ship it fast. And you cannot do everything. You have to define your focus. So we decided to focus on emails replies only, because we wanted to use only, or not only, but we wanted to use the previous prospect or buyer's emails as the context. And together with the prompt, we wanted to then generate one simple and accurate email suggestion. So from the UI point of view, we wanted to integrate ChatGPT functionality seamlessly into the sales workflow. And we thought that it was quite a good value proposition. So as the next step, we had to design the user interface. And personally, I thought that it would be a very simple task because it was just one button, right? But yet, to my surprise, it was quite challenging, and I will tell you about it soon. So this brings me into the product lesson number 1, which is that you should know the user workflows very well, and not only the ones that are happening inside the application, but also the ones that are happening outside of the application. And these are actually more important, I would say. Second point, that you should keep up with the technology and experiment quite often to see what is possible, and that you should be able to create your vision very quickly and demonstrate it to your leadership. These are the things that will help you to generate momentum and help you to work on innovative stuff. So let's talk about design iterations. As I mentioned, salespeople, they can use templates, but they still need to heavily personalize, and they would like to always write concise but still engaging email, and they want to use their own writing tone. So we recognize this feedback as the opportunity. So we wanted to enhance the feature of Smart Email Assist, the functionality of Smart Email Assist, by adding options to define a writing tone, and also by options to define message length or reading time. So in the first week, we've designed around 15 design variations, and this one was the first solid design solution. So basically, we've added a split button into the top right corner of the Compose window, and by clicking on the sparkling icons, it will generate email suggestion, and by clicking on the arrow down, you would access additional functionality like a prompt or tone preferences and reading time. So let me show you actually the live interactions. And looking at this now, I think it was quite solid design solution, and many companies are using almost same approach. For example, Microsoft Copilot or Grammarly Go. But unfortunately, this approach didn't work for us. And maybe looking at this now, you think that the tone preferences and reading time, that it's quite obvious functionality. But back then, there was almost no design precedent, almost no application you could try. So it wasn't that obvious, at least not for me. So the first challenge was inefficient interaction, because I assumed that primary action would be user clicking on these sparkling icons and generating email suggestion. But actually, they almost always wanted to access the additional functionalities like a prompt or tone preferences. So in this case, it wouldn't be efficient, because you would need to always go and click on the arrow down, then go 2 levels deep and go back and forth, which wasn't ideal. And also, the second challenge was that it wasn't united with other outreach functionalities, meaning that you could write email manually, you could use templates or snippets, which were on the bottom toolbar, and then as the new options, you could use ChatGPT. So it was, the UI controls were all over the places. And I think it doesn't look that bad in this example, but actually we have also Chrome extension, Gmail extension, Outlook add-in, additional surfaces, and this approach didn't work as well in these additional surfaces at all. So the deadline for the design conference was approaching, and we didn't have a design solution yet. So we decided to focus on holistic solution, not on some shiny UI, because we didn't want to present something like nice at the conference and then build something completely else. So we've defined these 3 design principles. So let me talk a little bit about that. So first principle, consistency and alignment. So by this, we wanted to create a solution that would feel consistent and predictable across all outreach surfaces. So we've created a new toolbar on the top of the Compose window where we placed all these content creation actions like templates, snippets, meetings, and also the assist. And this approach works quite well, also not only in web app, but also like in Gmail and also in Chrome extension, where experience is quite narrow. Efficiency over distraction. So with this principle, we wanted to create a solution where user would be able to create email suggestion very fast, because overall process needed to be much faster compared to writing email manually. So we've created a simple popover that appeared above email body, and you could adjust the tone preferences and message length quite quickly. And from the beginning, we had a simple goal that we wanted to generate one and simple and accurate email suggestion. But we had a meeting with our data science team, and they actually told us that it won't be possible. And mainly because our LLM model hasn't been trained yet to generate one and simple suggestion. So we had to adjust our approach, and we had to always generate 3 options, and user could choose one of them. Initially, I was worried that it will slow down user and dehonest user experience. But because you would need to read all these options, then choose one of them, so it's kind of slow. But actually, we've validated this solution with our internal salespeople and also with our customers, and they prefer this method more. And mainly because it provides sense of control over the process. And maybe you are asking why user had to click on the assist button and then on the generate button, why we couldn't simply generate email suggestions right after clicking on a reply button. But there are 2 main reasons. So the first one is the contextual usage, meaning that sometimes you have to just write simple email like thank you or confirm the meeting. So in these situations, it doesn't really make sense to use ChatGPT because it's not faster. But the second main reason, it's basically the financial constraints, because you have to pay for every input, for every instruction that you provide to ChatGPT, and also for every output. So if we were to generate always 3 email suggestions for every email, for every user, every time they click on the reply button, it would be simply too expensive. And in the worst case, you could actually bankrupt. And the last principle, transparency and guidance. So back then, some people didn't even know what is the prompt for and how to write it. So it was quite important to provide at least some guidance. So that was the reason why we provided this animated placeholder as the example how to write a prompt. And mainly because that having a good prompt is the best way how to improve accuracy. And so it was quite important to have it. And I think that this design will likely change very soon because people are getting more familiar with this technology. But back then it was quite important to have it. And also AI is like a black box. So even if you provide good prompt and even if you provide good context, then you have very limited control over the output. It can be quite misleading sometimes because AI can hallucinate. And you cannot do much about it. Only thing that you can do is that you can admit it and be transparent about it. So that was the reason why we've provided this little sentence in the UI that you should consider reviewing content for accuracy. And some people questioned the necessity of this. Some said that it's not like important to have it, it's just additional noise in the UI. But from our perspective, it's better to be transparent and provide guidance than say sorry. And actually, there are some additional guidelines for human AI interactions. These are created from Microsoft Research Lab, but there are some others, like from Google and OpenAI and other companies. And they are actually suggesting the same. So we wanted to follow them and create ethical product. And at the beginning, we were considering also to create like special visual identity for GenAI. So we've created this animated sphere because we wanted to create visual that would feel like intelligent and that would provide sense of positive emotions and feedback through animation. So this was our idea, but it was still our like visionary bucket. It was quite, let's say, hard to implement it very fast. So we've ended up using these sparkling icons because it's a solution that is universally recognized and almost everyone is using at least some variation of that. So like users are expecting some, let's say, magic interaction when you click on it. And I think it was quite a good move. But the question is if this visual will last in the future, because I think that every product will have AI functionality and it will be simply expected by users. So it will be button like any other. So the question is if we need to actually use some special visual for that. So this brings me into this second product lesson, which is that you should be careful when something looks too simple because you probably don't see the full picture, and that you should be aware of the interaction cost versus efficiency, and you have to find the right balance between those two to find a good viability for your product. So we've presented a prototype at the sales conference and we got quite amazing feedback from sales leaders. And to be honest, I thought that it will be our little product revolution and that we will win a market at least for a while. But unfortunately, I was wrong. Market had different plans with us. So originally, we wanted to release this feature to alpha in the end of the March 2023. But do you remember what happened in the middle of the March? If not, I will tell you. So Microsoft announced Copilot in the middle of the March. Right after that, Google announced Bard, and then literally every other day, some SaaS company announced the integration with ChatGPT. So if you remember, our kind of benefit was that seamless integration with ChatGPT in sales workflow. So with these announcements, we've kind of lost our benefit. And the second challenge was that the accuracy of Smart Email Assist, because sometimes it mixed up the names of the buyer with seller. So instead of saying, hi Anita, it said, hey David. Sometimes it produced false facts. So for example, it said that the email was scheduled at 6 p.m., but it wasn't scheduled at all. And sometimes it failed to respond specific sales questions. Like you can consider scenario when potential buyer is asking, hey, what's the benefit compared to another product, or what's your pricing? And for AI, it's kind of hard to fetch this information on the public internet. So then it basically made up the answer. So the question was, what are we going to do about it? And we were quite lucky because we have a lot of good content inside Outreach, because sales leaders, they usually create a lot of templates and a lot of snippets where you can actually find the answers for these sales-specific questions. So we wanted to automatically suggest these references to ChatGPT, and together with the previous emails and together with prompt, we wanted to generate email suggestions. So actually, let me show you. And actually, another solution was that we wanted to improve also the accuracy. So we've chosen hundreds of internal sales emails, and we've tried to apply slightly different prompts, some variation of prompt, Also, we've experimented with the model and also with different parameters. And then by hand, we've chosen the prompt that consistently generated the best outcomes. So with this exercise, we've kind of improved the accuracy. And this is what the new experience look like. So basically, you got the email from potential buyer. You click on the assist, and then system automatically suggested the references that you should use to answer buyer's questions. So in this case, you can see that the pricing was selected and some information about integration as well. And then you can simply generate email, and it was able to answer these specific questions. So another product lesson is that don't jump into the high fidelity too soon, but rather try to first build a good prompt and see if you can generate a valuable outcome, because if not, then you can do on the UI whatever you want and still the product will be useless. And you should think also about your value proposition, because it has to be something unique and something that cannot be easily replicable by your competitors. And as you might expect, the biggest challenge was the privacy and security, because it's a very new technology and companies are worried about potential data leaks, and that's fair. So we have a customer who told us that they will never allow GenAI inside their companies, and many big companies actually share publicly the same opinion, which is okay. So we had a meeting with our legal team, and they strongly recommended to use opt-in approach. So it means that this feature needs to be disabled by default, which cause obviously challenges with adoption. So we had to create the UI for admins, where they can go and turn this feature on, and where they can control the access through user profiles. And as you can see, we've created little UI nudges, like this banner, where we are saying that we don't share any sensitive data with LLM. Also, we've created guided tours and some product promotions like video and these dialogues. And this approach works, but it's actually, the adoption is much slower compared to normal feature, which you can simply turn on. Some companies, they want to do the pilot test, some they want to do the due diligence, and it takes time. So we have to be more patient to get a great adoption. So my last product lesson is that implementing AI is not that simple as flipping the switch, especially if you are working on the commercial or on the enterprise segment. And I'd like to share a few thoughts from Mira Murati, who is the CTO of OpenAI, and she will basically confirm my thoughts.
There's a lot of focus right now on building more models, but building good products on top of these models is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, so it's like that. And if you were to remember just one slide from this presentation, it will be this one. There are my key lessons that you can take away. So the first one is that you should know the user workflows very well, and also the technology, and experiment quite often, and be able to demonstrate your vision to your stakeholders quickly. Be careful when something looks too simple, because you probably don't see a full picture. And be aware of the interaction costs as well, because if you create too efficient design solution for the users, sometimes it can be too expensive for your company. And don't jump into the high fidelity too soon, but rather try to build a good prompt with good context. And privacy and security needs to come first. So my final thought, the GenAI is here, and it creates new opportunities that come around only once in generation. So if you are not working on AI yet, just send a message to your PM and start your product revolution today or tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks again.